Yo, what's good YouTube? In today's video I'm giving you guys my top 5 meta loadouts you guys need to be running. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for the first gun today, we're going to be jumping into the MTZ556, and yes, the STG is still incredibly good. I'm just not going to be showcasing that within this top 5 as I've done it in pretty much all my other previous ones. I want to give you guys some awesome weapons that basically aren't your STG44 and your static HV, because there's so many good guns I don't think people are actually using. So first thing in here is going to be the muzzle. We're going to go throw on the Quartermaster suppressor here for this. This is definitely the way to go here on this gun. Ever since the Quartermaster got introduced to the game, it is just definitely the best muzzle attachment for ARs, SMGs, LMGs. It does not matter. We are running the Quartermaster basically until this attachment somehow gets nerfed or changed. I kind of remember like back to like the Jack BFB. This was really good when it came out, but then after a while it got nerfed and everyone moved on to the ZM35. We're going to be doing that with the Quartermaster until it basically gets nerfed. After that, in the barrel section, we have a few options in here basically, so we can take a look at the detailed statistics. You have pretty much two real viable options, basically this Clinch Pro barrel and the Drifter Heavy Long barrel. So we can take a look at this. We can see we have 52 meters of effective damage range, which is actually pretty ridiculous. That's like pretty awesome. But we only take a look at here the actual damage range and the bullet velocity. So we see 28, 20, and 15% increase, which is cool, right? 52 puts you out ahead, but we see that 15% increase on the bullet velocity does help a little bit your recoil control. But what we're looking at here is we can see the other barrel, we get a 21, 21, and then a 26% increase here. So when we take a look from 28 to 21, with basically it goes from 49 to 52 meters. 49.3 meters is perfectly fine. What we really do care about more is that increase in bullet velocity. That's like 100 meters per second bullet velocity almost. So, I mean, maybe just a little bit under, but anyways, that does make a big difference, and your shots are going to register faster. When we're competing with guns that have the 900 to 1,000 or 1,100 meters per second, that does make a difference. So we have to run the Clinch Pro barrel here. Is definitely the way to go. The MTZ has very little recoil anyway, so we don't have to worry about having a barrel that has recoil control stuff built into it. Speaking of needing very little recoil control, we're just going to go down here and we go throw on the paracord grip. Because like I said, the MTZ really doesn't require a whole lot of recoil. People have been running that Bruin Heavy support grip, which you guys are still more than happy or more than welcome to run. The Bruin Heavy is going to work out fine for this, but the paracord grip is going to be my choice. It also does speed you up a little bit. This is kind of more of like one of those aggressive ARs because we're utilizing the iron sights, or we will be utilizing the iron sights. It's not like, you know, the STG where you can sit back with a little bit more. So you're definitely going to be running around here up in people's faces with it. So I really think that this is a great option. After that magazine, we're going to throw on the 50 round drum here. Of course, this is the way to go. 50 round drum, only thing you should be running on this. 30 rounds is definitely not sufficient. And of course, 20 rounds, this is an absolute joke. So I don't know who would ever run this unless you're really trying to hate your life. But 50 rounds is the way to go. And lastly, we're using the iron sights, but if you guys don't want to, you can throw on like something like the Jack glassless if you really want to. But overall, what you're going to want to come in here and do is throw on the MTZ Marauder stock, and this is going to be basically your ideal way to run this gun kit control and recoil control. You can see the detailed stats, a nice 21, 8, and 9% increase to our overall recoil, and it does not mess with our overall, you know, mobility, handling, all this sort of stuff really hardly at all. But if you guys, like I said, want to run maybe an optic, go down here, take off the paracord grip, go up in here, throw on the Jack glasses, and you'll be good to go. Or you can go down, and if you don't want to run the paracord grip, throw on the Bruin Heavy support grip, and this will be pretty much identical to the previous setup we've ran here on the MTZ. So a few options in here, a few different ways to run it, but pretty much any and all of it's going to be good. Our next up, we're going to be taking a look here at the BP50, but the BP50 SMG. So I don't think a lot of people actually run this on their loadout, but I'm talking about, of course, the conversion kit, the Jack Revenger kit. This makes this gun incredibly good. The BP50 actually has a long range as an AR, is still fantastic, but the close range version of it when you make it into an SMG is definitely better, and it is pretty hard meta because you'll delete people with it. You'll see it a lot in the rebirth, you know, Resurgence, Supreme, but you're not going to be seeing a lot on loadouts, unfortunately. So first thing, we're going to go up in here to the muzzle. We're going to go throw in, of course, after, you know, the Jack Revenger kit, we're going to throw on the Quartermaster suppressor here. The Quartermaster is just, like I said, the way to go for pretty much everything. So we really don't have to spend much time on this one. We're skipping the barrel, of course, because we can't go for a barrel. We're going to go into the laser, and we're going to throw on this very first one here, the Kimura RYL33 laser light. This is just pretty much the best one in here. Gives you aim locking, steadiness, tac stance spread, sprint to fire speed, and of course ADS speed. But we take a look at our detailed stuff here, which is what we really care about. Sometimes it, you know, can be a little bit misleading to look at the pros and everything, and you bump into the detailed stats, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense, or it doesn't look as good as it should be. But basically we get a nice 13% to our ADS speed and 17 to our sprint to fire. The attack stance spread is always pretty cool, but pretty much your sprint to fire and ADS speed was what we really care about. So that is a nice increase to that overall. After that, I'm gonna go down here to the ammunition, because we pretty much don't have an option even for like an underbarrel at all. They block off a lot of the attachments in here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on the 9mm high grains, just increase our overall bullet velocity and damage range, pushing us out to about that 14 meters, which is pretty standard. You don't really want to be below about that 13-14 meters. So this is going to keep you right up there in the meta slot, and that's going to give you nice almost 650 meters per second bullet velocity, meaning that your shots at close range are going to hit pretty fast. The Superior and other guns like that still have a pretty fast bullet velocity, so even though sometimes damage range might be lacking, you might see some people take you out first, just because obviously Warzone is projectile, and shots do register faster when your bullet velocity is better. We don't want to be having super slow bullet velocity, so this really does help out. And then lastly for this, I'm going to go back in here to the rear grip section. We don't need an optic. The iron sights are absolutely fantastic. We're going to throw on the CCG tack tape, and this is going to give us that tack stance spread and sprint to fire speed at the cost apparently of a little bit of recoil control. You don't really notice it. This gun doesn't have hardly any, but tack stance spread, nice little 22% there. And then our sprint to fire speed is down 14%, or a 14% help to our sprint to fire, basically pushing us out to 102 milliseconds, or pushing us down to 102 milliseconds, my bad. But the lower you can be, basically about that 100 millisecond mark, the closer you can be to that, or even sub 100, the better for an SMG. So this is fantastic right here. This is a banger setup. Next up, we're gonna give you guys a build here for the Tctekk Eradicator. And before anyone asks, I know they're gonna ask, this is the Black Cell Blueprint in combination with the brand new daily login reward camo. When you guys are not getting that daily login reward, this is basically what it is here on the gun. It's just this crazy looking, colorful camo. So first thing in here is going to be, of course, the Quartermaster Suppressor. I ain't got to explain this one too much, so we're just basically going to skip on right past it. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for a longer barrel in here, just because, we can take a look at this. Our effective damage range being 39.4 is actually pretty solid already, but as soon as we throw on the Conqueror 70 long barrel, it's like, bam, now we're at basically 52, or at 49.2 meters. For both our effective and our minimum, and of course our bullet velocity is over 1,000 meters a second, which is fantastic. So you're gonna be absolutely beaming people at range, and this thing is a pretty big laser beam, to be honest with y'all, so you're gonna really enjoy running this. So that's gonna be our barrel of choice. Going down to underbarrel section, we have a couple options in here. Bruin Heavy has worked out well for people in the past. You guys can definitely still run that if you want to. It actually works out great on this gun too. What I've gone ahead and done is actually been using the paracord grip here, because I've been really enjoying this gun, like the way I built it out, and it's a laser beam. It's got good mobility for an LMG, so the paracord grip here is going to be pretty solid, helps your horizontal recoil. For you guys that don't really take a look much at your recoil, like horizontal versus vertical, you want to think about it like this: your horizontal, your recoil going side to side, back and forth, that is almost nearly impossible to kind of counteract, because it's very random. It's going to go back and forth. No one's wiggling their stick back and forth or jiggling their mouse back and forth to be able to counteract that properly. Vertical just means all you have to do is pull down on the stick. That's so much easier to control. If we can stabilize out horizontal, all you have to worry about is pulling down. That makes your life 10 times easier, and especially when aim assist and all that stuff kicks in, your life gets a lot easier. So stabilizing out horizontal makes a big difference. After that, we're gonna go up in here. Actually, we're gonna go back in here to the optic section. A couple ways you can actually run this gun. You don't have to run an optic on it. You can actually run the iron sights, which I'll show you guys a variant for here in a sec. We're gonna run the jack glasses here on this thing. This is how I've ran it most recently, and I thought it was fantastic. I was just absolutely demolishing with it. So the jack glasses is a great optic to be able to run on this thing. And then lastly, we're gonna go to the stock section, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through on this Tactivert core stock. This can help us tremendously with your overall gun kit control. We can see nice 23%, 5, and 5%. Does slow you down, of course. That's not really something we're too worried about. It says mess with your hip fire, of course, not something we're worried about, and mess with your sprint to fire, stuff like that. It's an LMG. We're not using this for prime mobility. It is like one of the biggest or heaviest guns in the game. So you guys can run it basically with this, and if you don't want to run, the jack glasses, and you want to use your, pretty much like your iron sights, go back in here and we're gonna throw on something like this here, the FS's combat grip, which will be great, giving a little bit of recoil control, and you basically can have more of a laser beam gun and utilizing the iron sight. So throw this on there if you want to, but basically this is my full build. Definitely try this thing out. All right, for our fourth gun here today, we're gonna be jumping into the FJX Horus. This is a really solid SMG. I don't think it gets enough love here. This is one of those gold camos or one of those event camos from a long time ago. I don't believe you can get this anymore, by the way, for anyone that's going to ask. But basically, let's hop in here and build this out. This is taking a bit of a back seat in comparison to a lot of the SMGs, like the Static, the Superi, you know, pretty much a lot of those other guns out there that are still going to be really good. Like even the Striker now is really good. I put that in my previous top 5. I wasn't going to put it in here again, so that's still really great. Go check it around. Go check out my videos on the channel. I upload daily on all that stuff. But basically, our first attachment is going to be the Quartermaster Suppressor. This gun has a little bit of that weird kind of jiggle to it, so we're trying to stabilize that out as much as possible, and the Quartermaster will definitely help you guys out with that. I would suggest for you guys to try this one out. After that, we're gonna go down to the underbarrel section. I don't really feel like I'm just gonna put this out there right now. A lot of the barrels are gonna be all that great. You can have that one, like we can take a look at it real quick, but the Martis Heavy is like good for controlling recoil, but also then you're instantly lacking in your effective damage range. And so it's like, while the recoil may be better, you still didn't really do anything. And the Sin 9 long barrel definitely helps you out, but it does slow you down here a little bit, and also messes with your hip fire spread. So it's like, while you get some benefits, you're really still kind of screwed in a lot of the ways that really matter. So we're not really trying to use a barrel. We're gonna go down to the underbarrel section, and we're gonna throw on this Kimura Sephiric vertical grip. So this gives us a walking speed, gun kick control, vertical recoil help. And of course, our movement speed has been increased. It does mess with your sprint to fire and ADS here, I think a little bit, 4 and 2%, not that big of a deal because we want the extra movement speed and all that sort of stuff. And the recoil control definitely does help. Makes a difference. It definitely is worth the trade-off. There's not a lot of great options because you have to build this out a certain way based on the barrels you have. So the Sephiric grip is definitely the way to go. After on the ammunition side of things, we're gonna throw on the 9mm high grain rounds, and this is pretty much the best thing you can do to extend out your overall range and make this thing more competitive. Obviously, you can see 9.9 meters is not ideal. That's why this thing is falling a little bit more down that meta category, but it's still technically meta, right? It's still really good. So you'll still absolutely delete people at close range, probably because it's got almost 1,000 rounds per minute fire rate. So you're going to be getting outshots a lot faster than a lot of these other people. So that's why it kind of, you know, doesn't matter as much, that the little bit less effective damage range. But this is still definitely the way to go for this gun. Magazine section, pretty much if you go down to here, this is one of the only guns that has this like quirk that I'm aware of. Basically, if you look at the 48 and the detailed, and you go to the 60, there's no change in the penalty between the 48 and the 60. So if you're one of those people that's running the 48, literally go open up your game and check it out. There's no difference between the 40 and the 60. So you should literally only be running a 60 round drum on this thing. There's no movement penalties, nothing, no statistical differences, no downsides to run the 60 versus the 48. You just get an extra 12 rounds basically for free. So it's awesome. And we're gonna go ahead and run this. Lastly, we're gonna go to the stock section and kind of speed this thing up a little bit. We're gonna throw on the Ripper Light stock. I believe this is the way to go for this thing. If you guys don't want to run a stock on this and you just hate the iron sights, I'd recommend for you guys to go take this off and throw on something like the Jack Glassless. So we're gonna throw this on you. That'd be like our full setup right there. But if you don't want to, throw on something like the Jack Glassless. You won't be as mobile, but of course you're gonna be able to see better than you would with those iron sights. That's the kind of downside here with this thing, is that the iron sights aren't all that great. So if you can deal with the iron sights, run them. If you can't, run the Jack Glasses. Otherwise, run the Ripper, and this is going to be your full build. And last but definitely not least, I want to give you guys a build here for the Pulemyot 762. This got a pretty nice buff here in the Season 5 Reloaded update, and we're actually not using the conversion kit on this. The base version of the gun, you know, the regular Pulemyot, is incredibly good now. So I'll show you guys this. The only downside is that the fire rate's not as fast, obviously, but overall this thing is a beast. And I was demolishing with it in game when I used it. I was getting a lot of questions about it. So first thing, Quartermaster Suppressor here. You know, naturally we're gonna throw this on. Like I said, we've been using it on all of our, you know, ARs, SMGs, LMG, stuff like that. So we're gonna throw that on there. Barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on this ST Pyro Heavy Barrel. Basically increase our bullet velocity and range, gun kick, all that sort of stuff. Helps you out tremendously, giving us a nice little 42.5 meters of effective damage range, which is pretty cool. And our bullet velocity is already at 912 meters per second, and it does help a little bit with your recoil, not too much. We're gonna go down here. We're gonna go down to the ammunition side of things, and we're gonna go all the way down. You have to scroll over a little bit, but we're gonna throw on the 7.62 times 54 MMR high grain rounds. Kind of a bit of a mouthful right there, but increases, of course, your bullet velocity and damage range, giving us 15% increase, pushing us out to over 1,000 meters. And of course, 48.9, putting you right up there basically with your MTZ, STG, all your like hard meta long range guns right now. You're going to be right up there with them, and you're going to just be absolutely deleting. So it's nice also that your minimum is 48.9. You have basically no drop off. After that, we're going to go up in here to the optic section and throw on the Jack Glassless. This is really the only optic I'd recommend for you guys, to be honest with you. I don't think this is really that great with like a 2.5x, like the Choreo Eagle Eye 2.5x. That'd be my only other recommendation potentially. I just don't think it's all that great. I just only run the 2.5x on certain guns, and I think this is definitely one of those ones where you don't want to kind of run with it. I just think the glasses works out great. And then lastly, we're gonna go to the stock section. We have to stabilize this thing out just a little bit, and that's gonna be with the very first one in here, the Ivanov Woodstock, giving us gun kick control, recoil, and of course firing aiming stability. So it's 21, 4, and 4% increase. We absolutely love that. So this is going to be that last attachment. Here is my full build. If you guys enjoyed this top 5, give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on. Check out this other video on screen. I'll see you guys all next time.